And welcome back to Acme's Funniest Person podcast, a podcast about the amateur contest we've got running here for almost 35 years now. And it's back going again. You can sign up right now, so be sure to sign up if you're interested. I'm Bryan Miller, your host, and I'm here with Acme's newest, or tied for newest, MC, Lily Meyer.
Hello.
Hello. Great to have you on, and great to have you aboard. Do you have a week yet, by the way?
Yes, I do.
What's your first week?
It's J. Elvis Weinstein.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
I'll be
I'm
out here for
excited.
that. He's a
Cool.
buddy of mine. He's the original Crow for Mystery Science Theater.
Oh, really?
Because you write for Riff Tracks, obviously.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we have
yeah.
he was on season 1.
Okay.
He was Crow before Bill was on there, and then he moved to
Oh,
L.A.
Cool.
And then Bill became Crow, and they're buddy. I've
Yeah.
hung out with both Crows simultaneously. There's
Yeah.
no Crow war. There's
Cool.
Crow
okay.
peace.
Okay. Yeah.
But
I was
yeah.
like, should I bring it up or should I not?
Yeah, no, he's great. He's fantastic. I'm
I've
sure
only heard
Bill will
good
probably be
things.
out to see him too.
Cool.
But yeah, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit later. I want to talk about building a set list because I've actually had some comics and contestants ask me about how to
Okay.
build a set list and what to do.
Sure.
A guy was actually just asking me last night. He's on tonight. He's very nervous. But first, before we get to you, me, one thing it's something no one but me has probably noticed. I've worn my Acme hoodie on every single podcast to the point where then I'll
noticed.
go to leave the house and I'll be like, because at first it was kind of like almost like not a gag, but like,
Yeah.
well, I've been doing that.
Yeah,
And then I would be like going to leave the house and I'd be like, oh, I'm recording. I should grab the Acme hoodie.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm like, it's starting to look. I can't decide if it's a good thing to keep doing or if it looks really weird.
I think it's fine. I mean, you wear that hoodie a lot outside of the podcast.
Yes, that's
too.
true.
Not to blow your cover. or
No,
anything,
exactly.
but I see you in that hoodie quite a lot.
Well, I have a very
so it's kind of
limited
your thing, you know?
clothing selection.
Yeah, that's
mean,
what I assumed.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, I have like 2 hoodies. I have this, and I have my other hoodie, and then
Okay.
I have like 5 shirts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
cycle. I'm
Rotate.
not poor.
Yeah.
I'm just very lazy
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah,
oblivious. I think would be the thing.
Sure. Yeah. That makes sense.
But don't sneaky wealthy. No, that's not true. But no, I do wear this. So, but I wear it. But now, so then today I was like, oh, I gotta. So I don't know. But now maybe I should break the streak. I don't know. We'll see.
No,
on future.
I think you got to keep it going. At
I think
this
I got to
point.
now.
Yeah,
I'm
fans will be really upset. If
Except,
you
oh,
break it.
yeah, we'll get letters.
It'll really throw them off.
I'm working this New Year's. Usually, you get if there's a new shirt, you get the new shirt if you work New Year's Eve. So if I get a new sweatshirt, then I can upgrade.
You the new sweatshirt.
So maybe that's a little.
Yeah, that's a little hint. Is that what you're doing?
But also it smells really bad. So sorry about that. I did have to
hey,
pull this
you're
out
way
of the
far
dirty
away
clothes.
from me.
So
We're good.
we are social
Yeah.
distance. This is going to sound like an awkward question, but I don't think. Do you remember the first time you met me? Because I remember really specifically the first time I met
Well,
you.
maybe I'll remember if you remind me. When did
You
we
will
meet?
remember it, I think.
Okay.
Because it was one of the first gigs I did after I got my COVID vaccine. So like really
Okay.
early, like spring 2021, let's say.
Well, I wasn't here yet, so
Okay, so maybe it was fall 2020. When
Yeah.
did you move here?
August of 2021.
Okay, it must have been right
So I
after
think
that
it was
because this
fall.
was very. I had not done a ton
Okay.
of shows. There weren't a ton of shows. I was
Yeah.
back here and I was doing some stuff, but it was
Uh-huh.
still, that year was still kind of slowly
Yeah.
rolling back up. And I think you were brand new to town.
Mhm.
I certainly had never met you, but I also hadn't been out
Yeah.
much for the last year.
Yeah.
But there was a show at a really weird. It was like a private club for advertisers or something. It was like a social club at a building down here. It was above like the Fine Line, I think, in a really, really fancy. It was like a private club that people had to pay like a couple of grand a year to be a member of. And one of the girls in the club wanted to do a comedy show. She used to come here, and so she booked me and a couple of other people to do this show at this private club for these kind of. I mean, they were well-to-do young people. They were more your age than mine.
Okay.
They were like, at the time they were like mid to late.
Yes, it was like
20
it was in like a high rise.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
really fancy. There was a fancy
Yes.
patio, and it was free
Yes.
booze because it was a social
I
club.
remember this show.
And it was really not. They were nice
Yes.
people,
It
and
was like it's like young business professionals
Yes.
that join like a
it's like a networking club
Yes,
for
yeah, it's
young,
like a networking club
and
for-
they were all kind of young and
Mhm.
good-looking and energetic and
Yeah,
enthusiastic.
yeah.
And it was just kind of not my vibe.
Yeah.
Because
were all
I'm the
young and
opposite of
good-looking,
all.
not my
and I know that everything I said before was positive. I'm the negative of all those positives. So I'm
Sure.
not disparaging the nice young
I
folks.
feel fine including myself in that group.
Sure. Well, it was interesting. So I'm at the thing, and and they were nice people, but I'm like, I feel
Yeah,
out of place, and I have my
yeah.
drink in the corner, and then I don't know anyone there except for I think Randall Reed showed up later. I think Randall did the show with us.
Yeah. Who else was? Yeah.
Maybe James or somebody. I didn't know. I knew Randall pretty well, but I didn't.
Yeah,
I don't remember who it was, but I
okay.
remember I didn't know. So I didn't know anybody. And then you were like, by yourself as well. And then I struck up a conversation with you.
Yeah, I do remember talking to you because I went outside to smoke with you on the roof. I mean, I didn't smoke, but I
we
just
were
went
hanging out.
outside to hang
And then
out.
we were talking. And I remember being like, "Oh, okay. Well, there's one girl in this club who's fun. She's got a good vibe. I like her energy." And then, so I thought,
Oh, you thought I was in the?
because I didn't know, right? So I'm like, "Well, this
Because the
club
woman can't be a
this
comedian.
club
of
can't be
course.
all bad." She's like, this because you were dressed pretty. You were kind of dressed nicely, and I was dressed like a schlub. So you kind of blended more with them in that way. And keep it. I don't know anybody there.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, well, maybe this club is kind of fun. And this girl, she's cool. And then they started the show, and like, and your first comedian, and they said your name, and you went on stage, and I was like, oh, that's why I liked hanging out with her, because she's the comedian. She's not in the club. Like, it all clicked right away.
Yeah.
So that was, I remember that very clearly, because I was like, oh, she's a comic.
I remember that show specifically because I had just moved here, and I did have like, not to brag, but I was like, I did pretty good on this show. And I was like,
no.
And I was like, thank God. It was like one of the first few things I got booked on, and I was like, I'm nervous.
Sure. No, you did.
And
you
I
did
was
really
nervous because
well.
it was like that weird vibe of like,
Yeah.
these shows can always be like they cannot be good.
Yeah, and it was like a bunch of
these
people on a
cannot
fancy
be-
couch,
Yeah.
and kind of, but they were
like
cool.
set
They
up.
were
They were nice.
respectful. They were a good audience.
That was a great. Yeah, they were a good audience.
It was a fun show.
For
Then
a
the
show
lady who
like
booked it
that,
was-
I was like, this was a killer audience.
Yeah, but so I thought in my time at that moment, I just thought because I hadn't been to open mics, like, oh, you must have moved because you'd mentioned that you were from Boston when we were chatting.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, you might have been here for a year, and I just didn't see anybody because I wasn't doing mics for a year.
Yeah. No, just moved.
But yeah, so that's I remember very very clearly, and I was like, and so you had moved from Boston.
Yes.
How long had you been doing stand up when you moved here in 2021?
I mean, not really that long, but I started in like the beginning of 2019.
Okay.
But the pandemic hit in
Of
March
course.
of 2020, and I think it was way more shut down there than it was here. So I didn't do stand up for
pretty shut
like yeah, it was pretty shut down. But I know that some places still like had social distancing stuff.
I mean, Acme was open, and like,
Yeah.
did you ever?
I never saw.
You never
like,
saw
the-
when it was all divided. I tell you
No.
what, no, it was
And that like in Boston, that was like it was like illegal. Like there was
Right.
one open mic like outside of the city in
Oh
like
yeah,
the
because this followed all
in,
the
like
city
the classically
protocols and
like
everything.
where the Boston accent people live.
Right,
That
right,
was
right,
like,
right.
We're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
do
yeah,
it here.
yeah.
Who cares? Who cares? You know.
And there was you could go to the
And it
Dakotas
was
and
bad.
just or Fargo and just do mics anytime you wanted
Yeah,
to. Everything was
yeah.
wide open in Fargo.
Yeah, but I didn't do it. I didn't get on stage at all for like a year and 2 or 3 months or something.
Sure. So you basically
Yeah.
got like a little sample size of comedy.
I got like
and
9
then-
months in or something like that.
That's
and
very frustrating.
then
That's a-
It was really frustrating. I did get really into like writing in the pandemic. Like I
Mm.
started writing, like trying that out. I just didn't like it as much.
That's good though. I mean,
Yeah.
you do something with your time. But
Yeah.
that's when you first start. You're building. If you're into it and you're really working hard, you really build a lot of momentum then, and you grow really. You make these like. You get like obviously noticeably better like every 6 months when you're that new,
Yeah,
and so to
kinda
be
got
like
stripped.
stunted in the middle of that would be, I think, really frustrating.
Yeah, it was frustrating. And I did like switch over to, like I started writing for like the online type stuff, like
Reductress type stuff.
Yeah, I applied to Reductress a couple times. They call me back. No, they rejected me so many times that I think they stopped sending me the application, which is fine. Which is fine. I have no hate because I would always be like, yeah, send it to me again, and I maybe applied like 4 times every 6 months I could. And they were like, and then I stopped getting it, and I was like, oh, they must have been like.
Reductress has always been interesting to me because half the time I'm like, that's a very good joke, and half the time I'm like, that's not a joke.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's like and I don't.
I
mean,
like Reductress a lot. Hey,
No, but
no
it's
hate.
half the time I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that is very funny.
Yeah.
But when it's not funny, it's not that it's a joke that's not funny. I'm like, it's literally not a joke.
Oh, I see what you're
It's
saying.
very strange.
Yeah,
I'm just like, that's
yeah.
just words that form a sentence. You just printed a sentence.
Yeah,
It's not a joke.
I guess I don't really have an example of that, but I think my problem was I started pretty dark. Like I have dark humor.
Sure.
And that's like how I and I
I've
was
seen your
and
set.
I sent them like because I try to stick to like I'm not gonna try to be them.
Right.
This is my type of writing. Do you like it? That's sort of how I do it.
I think that's smart.
So that's why I don't
because
really care about getting rejected because I'm
everybody-
like, that's fine if you don't. And I remember like my first batch, it was like something about killing myself in a bathtub was one of the headlines. Like, yeah, like finding me dead in a tub. And one of them was like, it was stuff like that. And then I tried maybe a little, anyway, that was just like one of the things. But I did get something published in McSweeney's, which
Oh, that's
was-
cool.
Yeah, I was just doing it a couple months. I was like, oh, but that's like all I did. I did that, and I didn't write because I'd only been doing it like 9 months. I think if I was this far in the pandemic happened, I would be writing stand-up jokes. But I had a really hard time like writing, because at that time I was like, I need to do this in front of someone. Like, I truly don't know if this is funny yet.
Yeah.
Like, you're at that stage where you're like, I don't know. So I just like stopped writing stand-up jokes and just did all of that. So it was kind of a hard transition back.
Sure.
I just
Now,
should have
here's the
picked
thing.
up.
I couldn't write stand-up jokes during that time either, and I'd been doing stand-up for
Yeah.
like at that point, I mean, well over a decade.
Yeah.
Because to me, it was I would sometimes I would write a joke, but then I can't go out and tell it to anybody,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
I didn't like Zoom, and so then it
just
just
made me
died on the
sad.
vine.
It-
Because
yeah, it just
even
made me
when I come
sad.
up with a joke that I like I still got to run it a bunch of times,
Yeah.
and then expand it and contract it and move it around and all that, and so I still had to do all that. So without the ability to do that, I would write a premise or what would be maybe the beginnings of a really good joke, maybe.
Yeah.
But then it would just sit in the notebook, and then 6 months later, it was like, well, now the world's all different.
Yeah, and it's like that joke means nothing to me anymore. I also
Yeah.
felt the same way too, where it's like
Yeah.
a joke means something to me for like a month, and then it's
Right.
like, and then it's gone.
Unless I like really hone it and get it going
Yeah.
good, then it like
But you're not doing it.
And then also the only thing that we had to write about, I was writing about being in my house and being alone, all the pandemic-y stuff that
Just
I could have
depressing, like-
intuitively knew once we were out of this, whenever
No
that
one-
was, no one was gonna want to
Yeah.
go back
No
and
one
listen
wanted
to
to
that
hear-
material.
Everyone hated
So it was
comedy
like,
jokes,
what's the fucking point? As soon as
Yeah.
I can do this again, I'm gonna have to write all new stuff anyway.
Yeah. I just like stopped writing. I did like maybe one Zoom show, but again, I was so new that like
Yeah.
no one was asking me to do stuff
No.
like that, and I did one, and I was like, I'm glad no one's asking me. This
Yeah.
is awful. I wrote like a script that I sent to like a script competition. I also was paid to write a script for someone. They were like,
Wow,
"Will
that's
you
cool.
write it?" And they were like, "Do you want to write this? I have like the story. Do you want to write it?" Nothing ever happened with it, which is
Except you got paid.
except I got paid.
Something happened.
Yeah, I think it was like $1,500.
Huh?
And I was talking to someone, and they were like, "This is really low pay for something like this." And I was like, "Yeah, but I had nothing going on."
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Why not? I don't really care." You
Yeah.
know, every increment was like $500 or whatever. But I wrote a whole script based on the story they gave me,
I mean,
and
you
I
got
wrote like
paid for
5
writing.
female character friends in the story, and I was like, "That was fine with me."
You basically got paid to practice writing.
Yeah, fine.
That ain't bad.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, that's a really low rate for,
Yeah.
but not for someone with literally zero experience.
yeah, exactly.
You
That's how I
know?
felt. And I think he like knew that. So we were like, he's kind of taking
Yeah.
advantage. And I was like, I don't really care.
Except,
I don't
who's
really
the joke
care.
on?
Yeah. I also like had a full-time job at the time. I'm like, this is fine. I'm doing nothing. I'm sitting in my house. And I was like in Boston where I had like no family, and all my friends, it was like the people they were seeing were like their boyfriends or their girlfriends and their like families. And so I for the first like 6 months, it was a lot of just like me being alone too,
Sure.
which was like
Yeah.
depressing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll write a script, whatever. Yeah.
Sure. So I didn't realize. I thought maybe you did comedy for like a couple of years in Boston. So you were actually
Mhm.
pretty new.
I was pretty new when I
Realistically,
moved back.
you were
yeah.
pretty new when you
Mhm.
started here. You almost sort of started here in a
Kind of, yeah.
sense.
In a
Oh,
sense,
that's
I
very
will
interesting.
say it was really nice, like moving back and being that far in because, and I was starting. It sucked. I was like just starting to get, like, I was being booked at the comedy studio and stuff. Like, I got
Yeah.
there. I got there maybe like 5 months in. I got my first show there, and I was starting to get like this stuff when all of like the stuff happened. So that sucked. But it was nice moving back because it was like I was new to the scene, but I wasn't new to comedy.
Yeah.
And the first year is like really bad when you start comedy.
Yeah.
And everyone, so they would see me and they were like, "Oh, she's like funny."
Yeah.
For being new. You know, they'd be
Yeah.
like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Yeah, for being totally new, I'm pretty
Yeah.
good."
But you
right?
were-
Like
the
you
thing
kind
is,
of
you were
could.
It's still pretty, but you're right though.
Yeah,
you
but
got-
the first year, like if you can't figure it out, like you're never going to. But sorry, hot take. It's just a hot take. But if you can't like figure out, like I at least had like 3 jokes that I knew
Right.
worked. You know,
And you know how to
I
like
could-
behave at a mic and how to like sign up and
Behave,
all,
how to
all
sign
that stuff, just how
up.
the procedure works.
Yes,
Like don't
yes.
freak out on the host when you don't get up at the mic because not everyone gets up at all the mics.
Yeah, I don't. Yes. I'd done a lot of mistakes in Boston, and that was like kind of nice to like
Yeah.
just have a fresh start and then everyone be like, "You're new," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's crazy that I'm so like cool and funny." Yeah.
So you
I
like,
was
basically-
always like this. Yeah.
You almost could have done the Acme contest. I mean, I didn't know you were so new.
Well, I started immediately. Well, I was like
But-
running a show. I just started running a show in Boston when the pandemic hit.
Right, if you moved here in August,
Um,
that you would actually have to waited a whole,
A whole year, and I started working for Funny Business in like November of when I moved here.
Wow, that's really fast to work for Funny
Yeah,
Business. Was it
yeah.
camp or?
Camp. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Mhm.
pretty early to start working
Yeah.
here. That's cool.
yeah, I think James was James very early on. The first mic I did here, I'll never forget. James was like the first person to ever like be nice to me. James Stanley, shout out. Which isn't like shocking, you know.
Yeah, he's pretty nice
he's
guy.
Not like one of my BFFs, but yeah, he'd like be nice to me and be like, "You were funny. Like, where are you from?" Because people are cold and don't talk to you. And
like you are to people now.
Yeah, exactly. I've earned the
No,
right.
Yeah, but it is like you gotta wait to see people are gonna stick around and all that.
You gotta.
But it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But
Yeah.
you need those people at the beginning who are like your group, and then you kind of form that peer group.
Yes,
this mic
of
keeps
course.
sinking on me.
But he was very nice right away, and then he was my like reference or whatever. That's
Nice.
not very exciting. But yes, so I didn't do it because I was like, oh, if you get paid, you can't do the contest.
Yeah,
so
right.
I was like, oh, I'm out. And I didn't mind because I don't.
We're
gonna get into this. I don't like contests.
So you don't like. So tell me why you don't like contests, and I'll tell you my theory. I've been concocting this theory over the last few weeks.
It's a very selfish reason why I don't like contests.
Okay.
You feel bad enough a lot of the time in comedy.
Sure.
Bombing feels bad enough.
Yeah.
You feel, you feel.
Oh, keep talking.
Okay.
Yeah.
You feel bad enough.
Oh, thank you.
Doing.
Oh yeah, see, I could have fixed that myself. Well, Malcolm will edit all this
Yeah.
out. Malcolm's
Yeah.
the master. Yeah.
Perfect.
So bombing feels bad enough.
Bombing feels bad enough.
Yeah.
And I did the Boston Comedy Festival, which is a contest.
Oh yeah,
And
I did that one time, except for I flew all the way there.
So did I, because I was living here at the time.
Oh
when I did it.
no.
Yeah.
That one's kind of a bummer.
And but I had all my friends there, so it was like
Sure.
a bummer, but it was like also I could hang out with all my buddies.
Yeah.
But I learned quickly, like, oh, you're competing against people you like, you might not like, people you don't know, and and then you get kicked, and then you don't make it past the first. So on top of bombing, it's like, oh, I also get told by a panel of people, yeah, not only did you bomb, you did way worse than all these other people. It's like an extra, oh, I feel even worse now.
Sure.
Like, this is an opportunity for me to like feel even worse and judged about my comedy, and I just like don't like to participate in that.
I'm similar to you, actually. I'm not as far off as you might think. And when I have a problem with contests is I just ultimately, when it's an art contest, and like I don't like pitting art against. No, which is why, and this may sound this may sound a little self-serving, from my perspective. I'm just going to do this. It may sound a little self-serving from my perspective because obviously I host the show and I run this contest, but I've been thinking about it. Why do I like the Acme contest? And but I sometimes bristle. And there's other contests I've thought like, oh, that's cool, that's a good idea. I think amateur contests are actually much more reasonable than pro contests. Yeah. Because everybody is in a much more similar level. Yes. And no one has the whole point of it is no one has come into like full flower of their art. No one has like clearly developed their voice.
What you're trying to say is everybody's still pretty bad.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, no, I don't mean that in a bad way.
But like
everyone's
like,
it's still kind of bad.
Or the other way to phrase it, it's like nascent good. Like the good is in there, but it's like the seed of good. It's the beginning. It's germinating. Yeah. And I think it can help to be in a contest, especially when you're brand new. There's not a lot of other ways to practice like really high pressure sets. To have to set these like very specific metrics and goals. I gotta keep under my time. I gotta do 3 minutes. I can't go over. Yeah. And all these things that make you work muscles out that you really don't have a chance to. Yeah. When you get further along in comedy, you're doing auditions for podcasts and shows, and there's all these other. You'll do a bunch of other high pressure sets, and you'll have plenty of time for that, and you'll have plenty of time to be really depressed about how it works out.
Exactly. Yes.
But at the beginning, you don't really have that, and so I think the contest for amateurs is weirdly more fair because it's kind of about like who's figured it out the most so far. Yeah. But when you get to like 10 years in, let's say you have a bunch of headliners. Let's say if there was a headliner contest, that would be a bad idea. That it's like now you have a bunch of like. Now it's like this guy has a great like Conrad Tripp. Conrad has a great voice, and then you got Maggie Ferris, and Maggie Ferris has a great voice, and then you've got Aiden McCluskey, and Aiden McCluskey. Well, I don't want to pit them against each other because I just think they're all great. Yeah, and then they're like matured. They're there. It's like a wine that has aged. It's like this is all just very good now. Yeah. So I that's what irritates me more about, especially like. also local contests where you're like, hey, all it costs you is the gas to drive down here,
Yeah.
versus like some of these national contests where it's like drive to Chicago, do the prelims. If that works out, you can fly yourself to another place, and then you can do another thing. And if you get that,
I did
then
apply
you
to that one actually.
Oh, yeah, I did not.
But
I won't tell what contest that is,
I
but
do
it's
still-
dumb.
Every once in a while, I'll apply to a contest if I think it's like the result of what it could be is
Sure.
something that I'm like, this could actually be beneficial.
Yeah.
But also I just like know I'm at a place where I'm like, I probably won't get that. Like
Yeah.
I know so many comics that are so much funnier and further along with me that could get this thing. Like it's probably not.
Well, but a lot of times it's really casting. It's really like it's the 24-year-old who has the potential to be really good when they're 30 is the most popular person at a comedy
Yeah.
contest.
Yeah.
They're really looking at future casting possibilities.
Yeah.
The worst thing
Yeah.
is when you're actually where you need to be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, and you have to, I mean it's all choice. There's more of these to be done if you want to do them. But that is I tend to agree with you. But that is why I have like the amateur contest or like I said ones where there's like lower. There's no real cost to entry, and you could just treat it like well, it's a thing to do. It's a set to do. Don't treat it like any other set. I'm not gonna go kick a trash can if I
Yeah.
if I lose.
And I do think like really like amateur contests, what I have seen is when people win them, like I feel like the best thing to happen to that person or like anyone to even place in a contest is like it gives them, it's like someone who has like some sort of chops already, and I've seen it give them like a confidence
Mm-hmm.
where they're like, oh, all like I made it like this far or something, and then you kind of see that person. They get like better quickly, and you're like, wow, okay, that like kind of gave you, which is like nice. You're
Yeah,
like,
I think
that's
both of
great
the
for them.
Aidens that was true. McCluskey and
Yeah.
Tybalt, for
Yeah.
instance, and not just them.
Yeah.
But they pop to mind. I think also getting second or third in a contest can
Helpful
be great
too.
for you
Yeah.
because you got a lot of practice, you got a lot of exposure, you do all the things.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think not quite getting there can give you the fire to be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, you think I'm third? Well,
Yeah.
I'm coming back even harder. I'm coming back with more jokes. So I think there's can be you can work it to your advantage in a lot of ways that
Definitely.
have nothing to do with winning the first prize.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, but I just don't, like, I guess I did just apply to a contest, but I only do them if it's like, I don't know. It's an extra thing to make me feel bad when it's like, I feel bad enough. Like,
Yeah.
when I do all these other things in this, that I'm trying to do in this business, like, you get rejected all the time. And
Yeah.
it's just like an extra rejection. And you signed up for it. It's like I'm putting myself in a scenario to like
Yeah.
feel even worse about myself.
It's like remember those old
And I don't
websites?
like it.
It's like post your picture and like tell me if I'm good looking. I'm like, why would anyone ever do that to
Why would you-
themselves?
Yeah, people will like do that on TikTok too. They'll be like, "How can I be like more attractive?" And I'm like,
Oh no.
"Yeah." I'm like, "Oh no!" Like, "Oh no!"
I hope that's engagement farming because if you're looking for real answers,
well,
you're going to
yeah,
get
that's what it
devastated.
is. Yeah. Sometimes people are really nice though. In the comments, they'll just be like, "Make your hair a little darker." That's like all it is.
Well,
And I'm like,
yeah.
"That's so sweet." Like that's. It's not like change your nose.
Turn your face slightly to the
Yeah,
left. There you go. You
yeah,
look great.
Yeah.
So you've done a couple of contests.
Mm-hmm.
Do you approach writing a contest set differently or set list differently than you would approach writing like a regular set list?
No, and I think that's my problem. Actually, now that you're saying this out loud, I think that's my problem. Now that
You've had
you
an
bring it
epiphany
up, yeah. Because I remember when I did the Boston Comedy Festival, it's like it was in the fall of 2021. So I had just started doing comedy again in like June or
Sure.
May. And I had all of my jokes I had before the pandemic, which I should have done for the contest. But
Sure.
instead, it was like I was invigorated and had all these new jokes that I was doing that were doing like pretty okay. And I liked doing them because they were new. And I
course.
was like, fuck it. I'm doing these jokes for the contest because I like doing these jokes. But of course, they were like 2 months old and I was like a year into comedy. And I was like, of course that isn't going to do good. I should have done my jokes that I knew did well for like, before this even all happened.
That almost never goes away. That stupid feeling because I just did the Riff Track show with
yeah.
Bill and Mary Jo and Kevin. It was great.
Yeah.
The Parkway Theater, and I was making my set list up, and I'm like, all right, a lot of new fans out there, big sold out theater. I'm my favorite new-ish but tried and true jokes. And then I got to the one that I just written that had gotten a good reaction the one time I did it here at the open mic, and I came so close to doing that joke at that show because I'm like, it's pretty good. I mean, it's probably gonna be the best joke I've ever written. And then at the last minute, I didn't do it. And I remember being on stage, and I had a really good set, and people were having a great time. And I remember thinking, I'm so glad I didn't do that stupid new joke yet. It might be good in 6 months.
It might be good, and
but it's not there.
It would have been fine probably to do in front of them. But like,
And
why am I? It's just way more exciting. When you write a new joke that you like, it's like you want to do it all the time. It's like having a kitten or something.
It's like while you're out, you're like,
yeah,
I'm here to tell this specific joke.
Yeah, you're like, this is. That's like you were gonna ask me how I put setlets together, and I'm like, oh God, like I don't know if I'm the best because I have this problem where I ditch jokes, and because I try new ones and I am excited about them and I like doing them, but then I will a year later be looking back at notebooks like, oh my God, I used to have this closing joke that was doing well, and I just let it go. I just left it in the trash bin.
I'm just thinking out loud. What might be a good exercise sometime when you're here for doing a weekend.
Yeah.
Do a 15-minute set of new jokes because you'll do 2 shows back to back, right? But then on the second show, just try to put together a 15-minute greatest hits list and just see how that feels.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think doing doing extremes, right? All pretty new stuff from the last couple of weeks, and then greatest hits of like the stuff that have worked that you maybe haven't done for a while, and then you could start to like merge the two a little bit because I think the combination is where the sweet spot.
I do that. I just like, and I think maybe I am still pretty new, so like I do think that.
Well, you're getting better, so your new jokes are better to some degree.
Yes, they are better, and also I think like. As long as I can rein in this habit of mine and like, because I do go back. I will look back at old notebooks and be like, okay, I'll like have a show and I'll be like, I'm going to do a joke I haven't done, like a 3-minute chunk of jokes I haven't done in like 8 months. And like see what, actually this is like a fun exercise. See what I can remember. Like don't listen to a set or maybe listen to one. Don't go crazy. And off the top of my head. And all I can remember is usually like the banger punchlines.
Interesting. You forget about the little interstitial.
I kind of forget about the little inner stuff that I was kind of stuck doing because you're so used to doing it over and over again. And then I remember I did that once, and I was like, oh, I only did like the 3 punchlines in this like chunk of like genre that I had that were good. And it's like, oh, I can do that. I can just do like a minute and a half about one thing.
And see, that's how if you're doing
5 minutes on
a 5 to 7 minute contest, that's what you got to do. You just do that.
Oh yeah.
You do 7 minutes of that.
Yes. Well, you were asking me you said like, sorry, you can introduce this if you want, but you said it to me before, like the set list for this contest.
Yeah.
My only advice was going to be like, you're so new to comedy, literally just do the jokes that get the laughs.
Well, that's
the
what I was
most
going
laughs.
to say.
That's all you have to do.
That's the difference.
They don't have to make sense together.
Yes.
They all can be one-liners. That's fine. Do that. No one cares.
Yeah.
Actually, it's kind of fun to watch when you just do like these random one-liners that don't mean anything with each other. It's actually fine.
I think when you're farther along, you start to need to introduce a little more chaos.
Yeah.
Like where you do have to treat it a little. Like if you're 15 years in and you're doing a contest where there's a bunch of other like pros.
Yeah.
Like you can't just go up and do your rigid Tonight Show old school audition. It'll look too stiff. You do have to kind of treat it a little more like a set.
Yeah.
When you're new.
Yeah.
Just do this, just up the middle.
Yep.
Don't change it up. If you
Nope.
wrote something that morning,
Don't
honestly,
talk to the audience.
if you wrote something that morning, come on back to an open mic next week and do it there.
Yeah.
Great. Keep writing new jokes, but do the hits, do them, and just you're right.
Yeah.
You don't need
Do
a
the
bunch
hits.
of connective tissue between stuff. And in 3 minutes, no one notices.
Yeah, no one notices. I do when I have like 5-minute guest sets on something, and if it's a good audience, I'll just be like, I recently was just like, I'm just gonna string together 6 jokes that do well in these other areas. Let's just see if they work together. Like they're random, but I was just like, who cares? Like it's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They don't know me. It's kind of fun. You're like,
Go back and watch old like Conan sets, or comics doing sets on like Conan, or back in the day when there was more stand up or Letterman.
Yeah.
Like most of the time, it was 4 to 5 topics with nothing bridging them,
Nothing bridging
and
them.
you never watched it and thought like, well, how does Nachos connect to Homecoming King or whatever? You're like, I don't know, because he got jokes about him.
Yeah, I don't think you need like. I don't think you have to have segues as a comic. Hot take. I don't even think if you're a professional comic with a bunch of fans, you even need segues. I think you can just jump to the. I don't think anyone in the audience cares. The only people that seem to care are other comics.
No,
about, like some sort of continuity.
I think you can
purposes, but-
provide the appearance of segues or continuity just by putting topics that are kind of similar together in the right order. But you don't have to be like, well, speaking of pancakes, I was eating breakfast the other day. You know, it's like you don't need speaking of pancakes. Just get to the next one, and they will form. Unless you're a totally random one-liner, which is its own thing, they'll form like a bit of a narrative if you put them in the right order. But you don't have to tell people. You don't have to constantly point to people. See how this connects to the last thing? It's like, they'll see. It's fine.
also like super fun if you're doing a long set to like end a chunk, and usually the end of a chunk is where like the best joke comes in or whatever,
right.
and then you just pause as they're laughing, and then you'll be like, and I have jokes where I'll just step everyone. You guys like listening to live music? Just like complete, and you don't even have to be like, I don't have a segue for this, but the fact that you don't, kind of makes them chuckle.
The
they
randomness
go like,
is
that's
fun,
funny.
yeah.
I like that, and you just go, yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, but that's in a longer set. And a short set, nobody is even thinking
Yeah.
about that because
No
it's just
one's
like
thinking
they're just
about
like, what's the next joke? So you're totally right that
Because I do see people, some like newer comics, try to be like, speaking of, or like they try to segue. And I'm like, you don't need. It's just extra words.
you don't need to ask them a
really don't need
question.
it.
You don't need
Yeah.
to tell them your segue. Here's my least favorite one, and if everyone could stop doing this, I would appreciate it. Never. So a little something about me.
Oh.
It's all a little something about you.
It's
the whole
only
thing is a
funny.
little something. It drives me crazy.
I kind of like it though, and I've seen a bunch of comics do it, so it's kind of like hack at this point. It's going to go something a little about me, and then it's something really stupid. You know what I mean?
But just say the stupid thing.
Like, yeah.
But
it's
people do it
kinda
as
hack at this point.
especially at the beginning of this. Hi, how's it going, everybody? It's like the cliche opening to any stand-up set is hey, everybody, keep it going for so-and-so.
Yeah.
So how's everybody doing tonight?
Yeah.
Keeping in mind the audience has been asked how they're doing 7 to
Yeah.
8 times already.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing tonight? Oh, okay, well, a little something about me. All right, we're
Yes.
3 sentences
No one
deep, and
cares.
you've said nothing but cliches.
Yeah.
Like, drive
I
me
will say I
nuts.
do like checking in with the audience, even if they've been checked in on. But I do try to be like see how the previous comic went, and
Sure.
then be like, are we doing good? Like, and then I do try to be like, I try to use it as like a connecting thing versus like a segue into as just like anything to say. I try to say it as like something to say.
Sure.
If that makmakes sense. That doesn't really make sense. But yeah.
But no,
My
I
friend
think-
actually gave me that advice. She runs like a very good bar show in Boston, Hideout Comedy, shout out. And it's like probably one of the best indie like little headliner bar shows on Friday nights in Boston. And she's been running it for a while and hosting for a while. And so she's hosted so much
Sure.
that she's gotten really good at like she's like, I always tell them I'm happy to be there. Like, she's like, no matter what, just be like, I'm super excited to like be performing for you guys. They don't know that that's a thing you say. And then when she said that, I started to notice when comics would go on stage and like, I really irritates me when people like berate the audience like right up top.
Yeah, you haven't earned that yet.
I'm like, you haven't earned it yet. Maybe they were bad for other people, but it's like, you could turn them around. You don't know. Just like tell them you're happy to be there in like a genuine voice. And like, it kind of calms them in a way that's like nice. But,
Give them a
yeah.
sugar cube.
Yeah,
rub
give them a
their
sugar
mane.
cube. Rub their mane. Yeah. And like, you are happy. You're doing stand-up comedy. You should be happy to be there. Like, I know things could be going on or in your life or whatever,
I was
but
gonna
it's
say,
like,
give me 10 more years and tell me how happy
Yeah,
you are. To be like,
yeah.
I'm so far past happy to be here. I'm just like, I'm still here. That's what I got. I'm still here.
yeah.
Still here.
But
To many
I don't
people's
know.
surprise.
You can kind of like, joke. You can kind of just like smile them into like submission sometimes.
Sure.
You know, they're all sheep or what?
The title of your-
They're all disgusting little sheep. They deserve. Yeah.
There's the negativity I was looking for. All right, now we're back on track. Well, Lily, thanks so much for coming out to do the
happy to be
podcast,
here.
and enjoy. You'll get to enjoy watching the contest when you MC this year. You get to
Yes,
bring all
I'm
the contestants
excited.
up.
I
It's
know, I
actually
thought about that
fun.
yesterday. I'm excited.
It's
yeah.
actually really
I
fun
like it.
emceeing during the contest.
Yeah.
I like hanging out with. Used to hang out with them in the green room. Now no more because people were so weird in the green room. There
Oh,
were so
really?
many insane things happened.
Oh, really?
So now the finals, you get to go to the green room.
Okay, so you're not allowed to be in the green room.
No,
for
they
the
have to
first
come up
time.
from the audience because, like, oh my god, I mean, like people. One guy ate all my ribs. ribs. One guy.
What?
Oh yeah, one guy ate all my ribs.
Actually,
and then,
I seem shocked. I'm not shocked at all.
oh
None
yeah.
of this is shocking.
And just like people would, like light up a cigarette in there and like, I'm a performer, and like, no,
Yeah.
you can't smoke a cigarette in the green room. You know, whatever stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
but the finalists get to go to the green room. But you'll
Yeah,
get to
you
hang out
can.
and run the contest, and it's really fun to watch. I love the energy. So I was like
Yeah, I
really
like it.
hosting during. So you get to do at least one or two of those.
Yeah, I'm excited.
all
Hopefully
right.
it's
We'll see
It'll
it.
be-
We'll see you in the next round.
Yeah, I'm excited.